Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF. On today's episode, we've got something probably a little bit special to a lot of you watching, and that's the White Peak Distillery Wire Works Bourbon Barrel. You might have noticed that recently on Jeff Whiskey's channel, me and him did the English Whisky Awards, and not only did White Peak clear up, they won the best distillery, but this exact bottling won the best English whiskey. So I've been holding off on this bottle because I didn't want to influence anyone watching to go one way or the other. So the two English whiskies I've been covering in the last couple of weeks, I had to do to wait until the voting had closed. So yeah, now that this is one, I think this is probably a fair time to bring this out, give it the no nonsense whiskey assessment, and see if I agree with you guys out there, whether this is the best English whiskey or not. Let's get into it and see what we got. Right, so just in case people don't know, White Peak is an English distillery. They've won best English distillery in our awards, so that says what you need to know. They've been putting out banger after banger, is the truth. You know, they do excellent whiskey. Love the aesthetic of the bottle, that whole kind of like the wire dye being twisted into its actual cable at the top there. It's on an old UNESCO site where they used to literally make wireless at the Wire Works, right? So they used to make cables and wires there. That's pretty cool. So they're delving into that heritage, and I like that. It's actually a distillery that's fairly close to me, although I'm guilty of not visiting them just yet. So I do need to get up there and have a look at them and see what they're doing, because yeah, every time I try their whiskey, always happy with it. This one sells for about 65 quid, and it's 53.4% ABV, so no slouch. It's a bourbon barrel, as it says on the tin. And that basically means that it's ex-bourbon, Heaven Hill, for those who are interested, which is, you know, just a pretty usual way of aging some whiskey. Let's get into the actual whiskey and see what we got. Non-chill filtered, natural colour. So yeah, we've got a fairly light kind of straw-like colour there, which is fine. You know me, I don't really care too much about colour. All colours are good, so that one's pretty good. I don't mind that at all. Don't know how old this thing is, but it's a relatively new distillery in the grand scheme of things, so probably not that old. But as I've always said, you know, one of my favourite things about English whiskey is they're finding ways of making excellent tasting whiskey without having to age for 1, 2, 3 decades, which is pretty cool. Okay, on the nose then, let's have a look. Now, considering this is lightly peated, I actually don't get much peat on the nose, but obviously light is a reason for calling it light, but it all sort of mingles in really nicely. It's everything that I would expect to get. It's those vanillas, those kind of little bit of honeys in there. It's quite lively. It's almost like a fizziness, like an effervescence on the nose, which is, you know, an odd thing to say, but that's what I'm getting. A little bit of kind of light fruits in there as well. Smells great. Let's get onto the palate. That fizziness, that effervescence, really translates over into the palate. It's lively. It's vibrant. Loads more of those vanillas. That kind of fruitiness is coming out as citrus and kind of lemon, almost like, I don't know, it's like a sweet, there's like a pear drop with a kind of lemony mixture to it. Very, very, very tasty indeed. But the cool thing about this, again, you know, it's lightly peated, and to my palate, it's almost not peated. It's so light. But what the peat is doing there, rather than jumping out at you as like medicinal or smoke or earthy or, you know, vegetal or like anything like that, what it's doing is mingling in with all of the sweetness and giving this kind of nice rounded edge to it all that you can't quite figure out what you're tasting. You just know it tastes good. So I would say, like, anyone who's like scared of peat or doesn't like peat or, you know, whatever, don't be put off by the words peat on this. Give it a try, because yeah, all right, I'm a big fan of heavy peat, and so that probably means that I'm desensitized to it. But that's just an absolutely lovely dram. It's so, like I say, it's so lively, so fruity, so fizzy. Really, really happy with that. Really happy with that. Now, as I said earlier, 65 quid, and to a lot of people that will be a lot of money. You know, there's nowhere near the most expensive whiskey out there by a long shot. But I will say it's pretty much the going rate for these excellent quality newer distilleries. You know, and that's the truth of it all. You know, do I think it deserves the accolade it got? Absolutely. You know, it's a tight contender space for sure, and even a few votes could have swung it either way. But there is a lot of excellent whiskey out there, and for this to stand up high on its own, and you know, and shout proudly, even being something simple like an ex-bourbon barrel. You know, there are so many people out there that are chucking cask finishes at all sorts of stuff, trying to hide youthful spirit or whatever, you know. And these guys are just proudly chucking out an ex-bourbon barrel at a fairly high ABV, you know, for sure, for a reasonable price in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, yes, all right, we would all love to have cheaper whiskey, but special release whiskey, small batch release whiskey is always going to be more expensive. And like I said, the quality just comes along with it. Absolutely. Very happy with that. The only problem I've got with this now is that it's in that realm of cheap enough, not necessarily to be replaceable, but I might end up attacking this a little bit more than I should, which is going to be a problem because then I'll have to spend out and get more. But there we are. It's one of those things. I could put it behind a guard whiskey. We'll see. We'll see where it goes on the shelf. Not sure yet. I've got my one little English cube up there, but it's getting full, so I might have to expand that out a little bit. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. I know a great many of you really love this whiskey, so I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Give me your little mini reviews in the comments. Let me know your ideas, anything you want to talk about, basically, even if it's not about this and just about whiskey or whatever. Let's have a little conversation below or in Discord, whatever. But I'll see you again on more videos coming soon. Cheers.